Happy Spiritual Sunday! Woo! Okay. And welcome to all of you out there in cyberspace, wherever you may be around the world. So while people are coming on, I want to share with you, as I'm making greater effort, I just opened this book, Taming Chaos from the Rav. And of course, you're going to hear what we got. He says, centuries ago, the prophet Isaiah peered far into the future. Interesting, you'll hear how that fits with today. Of what he saw, he wrote, "Then the eyes of the blind shall be opened, and the ears of the deaf shall be unstopped. Then shall the lame man leap as an animal, and the tongue of the dumb shall sing." Another prophet, Jeremiah, followed up with a vision of his own when he wrote, "There will no longer be the necessity for one to request from his neighbor, 'Teach me of wisdom.' As it is written, one day they will no longer teach every man his neighbor and every man his brother, saying, 'Know the Lord,' for they shall know me, the Creator, from the youngest to the oldest of them." Our age, the time we're in now, also is known as the age of the information superhighway. An age characterized by an explosion of knowledge at every cultural and economic level, and by advances in medicine and physics that border on the miraculous. Who can doubt that the times spoken of by Isaiah and Jeremiah are finally here? So, as we're going to say, let's get started. First with our, just again, for those of you just joining us out there in cyberspace, please start a watch party. It's been very successful. A lot of people have been writing me saying they appreciate the fact that we're here on Sundays. And then let's do our affirmation together. Building our consciousness, strengthening our connection to the light of the Creator that's in us and all around us, and, as we have at the end here, in every other person in the world. So we say it together. Consciousness is everything. I raise my consciousness today to see the miracles and wonders of life. I commit myself to behave with greater love, compassion, and kindness towards all human beings. Okay. So again, thank you for those of you who are out there who watch regularly, who support the program, and help us grow to bring this light to the entire world. So, in 2008, do you remember what happened in 2008? The real estate bubble burst. There were a lot of people lost their shirts and a few other things of their possession. But there were some people that didn't. I had one student at that time who was telling me he was in real estate and had a number of properties. But he saw, and this is the way he told me. He says, I started to see people buying houses and getting loans that according to their income or the way it used to be, they had no right to have those loans. So he understood what was coming, divested himself of all of his property, and then as we saw, whoosh, the bubble burst, and a lot of people I know lost their shirts. They lost all their properties because all of a sudden, they bought up here, and now it was like worthless, and they couldn't keep up the payments, et cetera, et cetera. You know the drill. So what does that have to do with us? We don't want to be the one that doesn't see, do we? No. We don't want to be the one that gets caught in the bubble as it bursts, and then say, oh my God, why did that happen? What happened, et cetera. We want to be like the person who saw it coming. But in order to do that, what do we have to have? What do we have to strengthen? What do we have to gain a greater, more elevated consciousness about? The warning signs. And do something about those warning signs. So he says here in the Zohar, and I want to just tell you in the English exactly what it is. If you want to look it up, it's in the second section of Bereshit. It's called Bereshit Bet, verses 425 and 426. So it writes like this: Come and behold, when a man wants to take vengeance on another, he keeps quiet and tells him nothing. Because if he discloses his intentions, meaning if he tells the person he's going to come beat him up, the opponent will be on guard and therefore will be hard to overpower. Yet, the Holy One, blessed be He, in our terms the universe, does not act in this manner. He does not execute judgment on the world before he declares and informs it of his intentions once, twice, and 3 times. Then no one may reproach the Creator and ask, "Why are you doing this? What are you doing?" Nor can anyone guard against him or stand up to him. So he's telling us essentially that the Creator of the universe will always announce to us, maybe once, twice, 3 times, that some form of judgment is about to befall us. Some kind of negativity is going to happen. So in a practical level, what does that say for us, and what should we be on the lookout for? Well, think back. Think back to some of the challenges you've had in your life. Was there never a warning? How many of you, hopefully not you guys, but how many of you had friends who said after something happened, the relationship went bad, the business went bad, even health went bad, even sometimes you could say even the car went bad, right? On the way to an important meeting, boom, flat tire, some kind of mechanical problem, etc. How many of you ever heard those people say, now that I'm thinking about it, there were some red flags along the way. Some red flags along the way. What are the red flags? Now you have an understanding from what the Zohar is telling us. Those red flags are the universe, the Creator, our higher self, giving us a warning. And I'm sure many of us could say, truthfully, once, twice, 3 times. We had him. What happened? Most of the time we don't listen. We don't pay attention until after the effect or the judgment comes. So now you and I, we could say if we took this only on its literal understanding, God announces, etc. Well, if it's up to God, to as he says, execute judgment, so why doesn't God just take them away? Why doesn't God just give nobody any challenges? Just let everybody live a hunky-dory life. Because this world, as we continue to remind ourselves through the classes, through Spiritual Sunday, this world is not being determined by the Creator. The Creator already created us perfect, gave us everything, made on earth a heaven on earth called the Garden of Eden. Simple story. Go back to your Bible. How did Adam and Eve, or where did Adam and Eve live? Even we want to take it on its literal level, which those of you who are new, Kabbalah teaches us. The Zohar says, yes, the Bible, the 5 books of Moses, has its historical truth. People existed, things happened. But for you and I, we want to gain a lesson, some type of spiritual technology that we can learn from them and apply it in today's world. And so, even on the literal level, Adam and Eve, they came out of the endless world, they came here, and as we've talked many times, pure light beings, ethereal beings, etc. But where did they live? Garden of Eden. They lived in the Garden of Eden. So essentially all we can say, and what we need for our own spiritual growth, is to remember the Garden of Eden already exists. Why? Did God say, oh, you know what, I don't like it anymore that Adam and Eve live in the Garden of Eden, let's just throw them out? No. What happened? You and I, who have free will to determine what happens in this world, and yes, if you are new, that is true. Look around the world. Why is whatever the chaos you see out there happening? It's not because God created the chaos. It's because people misused the power that the Creator gave us to do actions that ultimately create this chaos. Where you and I are right now, and every facet of our life, is a series of maybe thousands, 10,000s of choices we've made all along our life. From day one all the way up till now. It's our choice. However we were influenced, whatever was going through our mind, it was still our choice. And so the same then with Adam and Eve. Why were they thrown out? Cause and effect. They disconnected themselves from the light of the Creator. They disconnected themselves from the Garden of Eden. And therefore, the effect of that was, as the story tells us, pushed out of the Garden of Eden. That's it. So what is our spiritual work? Get back to that Garden of Eden. Get back to that level of heaven on earth where every human being on earth is loving each other. Unconditional love, love your neighbor as yourself. That's our work. That's our work. So then why do challenges come our way? because you and I have made mistakes in the past. And every time we make a mistake, every time we act in a selfish or self-centered way, what was going on in that moment? The universe, our higher self. Remember, God created us as pure and perfect beings of light. Our soul is filled with 100%. So then, as we came into this world, and we, within the being of Adam and Eve, kicked ourselves out of the garden, number one, what's the first thing we did? We took some of that light of our pure and perfect being, and we clothed it, if you will, covered it in a shell of negativity that today we could call fear, anger, greed, ego, any kind of those selfish, self-centered behaviors. The universe was sending us light. Our higher self was coming to give us that 100%, and we took a piece of that light, covered it in a shell, right, like a veil of anger or jealousy or intolerance, etc., and that gets stored away for us. Now, when we say, which we all say every day, give me more blessings. My life may be okay, but I know I'm supposed to have more. Or some of you, unfortunately, out there, going through difficult times. And in those difficult times, what do we say? Give me more. God, help me. Which we're really saying in our terms that we learn here, I want the rest of the light that the Creator gave me. But the only way it's going to show up is with that curtain, with that veil, with that covering. So we're going to ask for that piece of light. It's going to come to us. But since we covered up previously with jealousy or insecurity or guilt or shame, that's the first thing we're going to see. So those are the challenges. Those are the moments where we appear to be in a challenging or a place of darkness. So those will have to come to us. What I want to emphasize is what the Zohar is telling us. Always will come the warning 1, 2, or 3 times, meaning not just the warning that it's coming, but also the wherewithal to avoid that judgment, to avoid that darkness, to have the solution, if you will, or the antidote for it. That's what we want to go. So as the Zohar is telling us, if you think back to all those challenges in life, and you can see clearly, objectively, were there not warning signs? Was there not something, even if it was just a thought, an idea, or whatever it was, or maybe it was somebody. Maybe somebody came around and said something that seemed illogical, caught your attention, and you just dismissed it as something silly or something illogical. Looking back, you see, you know what they were really telling you? They were giving you a hint. They were unconsciously the messenger of the Creator of your higher soul, saying, you covered this piece of light up, you've asked for it back, be aware that it's going to come first with that veil of whatever that self-centered reactive behavior was. So be prepared. Be prepared. How do we see it? Interesting story. If you read the Bible and you look in the beginning, towards the end actually of Genesis, you know, the famous story of Pharaoh and his dreams. So Pharaoh, the king of Egypt, who was basically the ruler of the world, he had these 2 dreams. And he told the dream to all the wise men of Egypt, all the magicians, all the sorcerers, and none could interpret that dream. So if you've read the story, what did he do? Okay, one of his servants who had been in jail and had had a dream interpreted by Joseph, the son of Jacob, and it turned out the way Joseph interpreted it, he's now been restored to his position in Pharaoh's service. The other minister who had been there, chief, right, in the house of Pharaoh, he also had a dream. Joseph interpreted that he was not going to be restored, and he wasn't. So now comes Pharaoh's dream, and this servant says, you know, I have to admit my fault here. When we were in jail, there was another person in jail there who interpreted our dreams, and it came out exactly the way he interpreted, right? The other guy didn't get restored. I got restored. So Pharaoh says, what? Let's call him right out of the jail now. Let's get him to see if he can tell us about our dream. So he calls Joseph out of the jail, out of the dungeon, and Joseph interprets a dream. And without all the details, the basic idea of both dreams, there were going to be 7 years of feast, wealth, and then 7 years of famine. So Joseph tells Pharaoh, he says, this was given to you by the Creator, by the universe, to prepare, to find a wise man who will help you in the time of feast, when everything's going well and abundant, to prepare for the other time, when it's going to be a famine. And so, of course, as the story goes, Joseph was appointed. He becomes second to Pharaoh, which is a whole nother spiritual Sunday we can go through. But the point being that Pharaoh, even you want to say he was a negative person or whatever, but he received also that warning. So when the Zohar says any type of chaos or challenge, or if you will, the effect of our previous behavior, whether a person is a good person, a mediocre person, or a bad person, they will also get those warnings. The issue is listening. The issue is, how do we act if we may or may not have a person like Joseph, but how do we get that understanding? So that really, if you think about it, that's what we're learning here, is it not? You started in Kabbalah 1. If any of you haven't taken it in a year or haven't taken it all, go back and take it again, because it's the foundation of everything. But what do we learn in Kabbalah 1? When challenges come our way, it's, as we said, to give us the ability to repair what we have done in the past. But how do we do that? Even in the moment, when it looks dark, when there's challenges coming our way, we have to have the ability to pause, not just to react as we did the last time. Think, simple example. Somebody, 5 years ago, just was really on your case, criticizing you about everything you ever did, and finally you just had enough, and you just start screaming, yelling, and criticizing them back. 5 years go by, you forgot about the person, everything's been okay, and all of a sudden, somebody comes out again to do the same thing. Why? Because of what you did. But if you look back along the way, there were those hints. Meanwhile, even you didn't listen to the hint. What do we learn from the first course? Pause. Before you react the same way, before you just let that fire build up inside you till you can't stand it and has to erupt, pause and ask yourself, what is this situation teaching me? What is it pointing out to me? So in that case, what would it be pointing out? The anger, right? The upset, the resentment that caused the reaction in return, the screaming and yelling and criticizing them back. This time, because remember, why do we see that first? Because that's hiding our light. That's hiding the blessing. Person, whatever it is, want better relationships, want better business, want better health. The light is always giving us. It's we who've put the curtain on it. So the curtain comes, pause. Realize what it is. It's my anger, my upset, my resentment, whatever it may be. Let me peel the layer away by doing some act of sharing. Yes, it's going to be uncomfortable. That's why we call it transformational sharing, because it's uncomfortable. It's out of the norm of our behavior. And that's how then we peel away the layer, and then we can incorporate the light. So this is what we're learning here in the center, how to be like Joseph, how to be the one who understands the dreams, the messages, all those intuitive insights, so that we can gather in the times of light for the times of darkness. And that's the thing I want to now impress on our consciousness, because it's a huge lesson. And with all that's going on in the world, wherever you are in the world, I'm sure you can see all around you chaos. One thing that I remind students when I start to hear them talk about all the chaos going around, their family in trouble, this in trouble, whatever, remember one thing that the opponent may not let you think about. The chaos is all around you, but not you. That seems to be the thing that most people forget. I've heard, this relative has this issue, and this one has this one, and the business, and blah, 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 until you wake up the consciousness and you say, wait a second, but where's your appreciation of the fact it's not you? Oh, really? Because why? All the chaos around. What does Satan, the opponent in our head, tell us? Be in fear, be in upset, be worried. What's going to happen tomorrow? Well, first and foremost, just appreciate the fact that you're in a bubble of protection, that it's around you, not you. Now turn around after you've paused and appreciated. saw more value in that, now turn around and say, why am I in this position? Why is this all around me? Just so I'll see a bubble of protection? That's one aspect. But the bigger part is, you as a spiritual being, you as somebody who understands this technology that we teach here in the Kabbalah Center, you have the capability of not only enlightening those people, and as we talk about channeling light to them, but also you have a way even in the physical to somehow influence them to wake up their consciousness, to help them take their darkness, their challenge, and grow to a higher level. Help them realize in some way or another the reason that that is going on in their life, it's the shell, it's that veil. That's what they're seeing. Help them not to react to it. Help them be able to pause and peel away that shell in whatever the appropriate form, so that then the light that's of their higher level, the light that is already God-given to them, will now be able to be incorporated into their life and raise their life up out of the darkness into the light. So we've got to start thinking, consciousness is everything, is it not? So we have to turn our consciousness around, start to see more and more of the good. So what I'm about to share with you is something I heard from Michael Berg recently, that he was reading from the Kabbalist, and he was saying, if we understand that there's no challenge can come to us, that the light, the universe, our higher self, has not already set out the antidote or the solution, then the key is, while we're in those moments of connection, while we're feeling inspired, while we feel so good and everything going well, just like some people may do in the physical world, right? Business is going well, so the wise person will take some of those resources and set them aside in a savings account or what have you. Just in case some kind of challenge or whatever will come along, they'll have the resources. Instead of just using it all up, and then when the challenge comes, they have nothing, and they've got to start all over again, take some of it. Take some of it and put it aside. So when we're feeling inspired, when things are going well, then what we want to do is we want to take some of that light consciously, because it's not going to happen automatically. Consciousness is everything. Consciousness determines our behavior. So pause for a moment when things are going well, when you're feeling inspired. Maybe you've scanned the Zohar and you just felt light. Maybe for those of you who lit the lights of Hanukkah, maybe you saw a miracle. And in that moment, there was an extra light. And you say, I want to take some of that light and I want to put it in my light bank account. So it'll be there when I may need it later. And again, it's not a negative consciousness because, as we said, we don't know how many things we've reacted to in the past. So if we store up some extra light, then when those things come back to us, it'll be much easier. Pause. Just peel it away like you and I do. When you go to the refrigerator to get an orange out of your refrigerator, do you look at the shell of the orange and go, oh my God, how did I buy this? Why did God do this to me? No, you look at it, you already understand. The shell is there. Inside, when you peel the rind, that's where you're going to get the fruit. So you don't have a panic attack. You don't get stressed out. You don't scream and yell. You just take the orange, you peel it, and then you eat the fruit of the orange. So the more light we've stored, the stronger we connect ourselves to the Creator and our higher self, then we will have that light that in that moment, sure, we may have a microsecond. Oh, why is this challenge coming? No, now I have the strength. Pause, peel away that veil, peel away that curtain, and then reveal that light. So that's what he was saying. Now, there's also, it's not only the times we're feeling connected or making the connections. Those of you who already understand the power of the Zohar, next time you're scanning the Zohar, set aside some of that light in your spiritual light account. You're doing Ana B'Koach, 72 names. You're giving charity. You're making that transformational sharing effort that's uncomfortable. Take a piece of that light that you've just revealed, put it in that account. Put it in that account so it's there. Because remember, the light is not just like money. Let's say you just pay the bill. It also comes with the inspiration, the strength, the guidance, the clarity, attracts to you the right people at the right time. So let's say down the line somebody has a business challenge, but they're using some of that light they've stored in the inspiration or in those moments, cosmic moments, where there was an opening, like these last 8 days, these 8 days of miracles that we call Hanukkah, or the new moon, or these cosmic openings where there's extra energy just flowing out. You store it away, and now you have that to have the inspiration, the guidance, the clarity to deal with whatever challenge comes. And that light can attract not only an idea in our mind, oh, this is how we'll solve the problem. It can also attract the right person. Like we said, maybe it's business. Maybe something going on in the business seems to be a blockage. You're not sure how to proceed. Got a great idea. And because you're drawing now out of your light account, the universe will find you the right person to do the business with that will help things be good, not only for you, not only for them, but the people that you're sharing your product or your service with. So it'll be a win-win-win. So the light can be any form of support we need, any form of help that we may need in any challenge coming up. It's our job, though. Same thing. Think just like in the physical world. If a person saves up $10,000, in fact, I'll tell you a quick story. Just comes to my mind. There were people that I know that moved to Los Angeles years and years back from the East Coast of America. So for whatever reason, they had, okay, should I tell you? They had $100,000 in savings. Okay, nice. It was stored up. They get to LA, and what happened? They buy a house. They didn't check it properly. Again, they didn't heed the warning signs. So what happened when the inspectors came, found out that this little apartment that was built behind the garage or on the garage, whatever it was, had not been properly permitted. So, of course, there was a fine. They had to redo, blah, blah, blah. Guess what? $100,000. Now, you could say, oh, isn't that terrible, took all their savings? But we can also look at it the other way around. Whatever good they had done back then that they were able to accumulate that was in preparation for what might have come. Now, we could also theoretically say, maybe if they had paused buying the house, they wouldn't have found that house, they would have found out something ahead, and then they would have had that $100,000 to use for something else. Either way, what they saved here was all able to be used here, so they could just move forward in life. And they did, thank God, and everything went really well. What I want us to get metaphorically, the more light we put in that account, the more we'll have. If we'll never need it, great. We'll probably need some of it at least. But if you have too much of it, can you really have too much light? Can you have too many blessings? Can you have too much inspiration, guidance, clarity, goodness in your life? Can we really have too much? So in those moments, as we called it, inspiration, when you feel that connection or you're making those connections, take some of that light, set it aside. Yes, the rest of it will be used now for whatever's going on in your life. But that part that you set aside will be there for those moments of challenge when things do get a little difficult and you're not quite sure what to do. You use the light. Light will be illumination. Light will be guidance through a person like Joseph, or just inspiration, or even a dream. Plenty of people have had dreams that have helped them receive the answers or the solutions to whatever difficulty they're in. The key is it has to be conscious. Don't scan the Zohar. Don't go give charity. Don't do your Ana B'Koach. Don't go forgiving the unforgivable. And then after the fact say, oh, no, I want to take some of that. Probably won't work or not work as well. Be conscious up front. I'm doing this act of scanning the Zohar. I'm doing this act of handing out a Zohar to a friend, somebody I met, and I want some of that light that I'm revealing now to be put in that account. So it'll be there with all the wherewithal I'll need in the next challenge coming up. And that's why we can say there is never, and the Zohar is emphasizing in a few ways, there is never a challenge comes our way that the solution hasn't already been there. In fact, in a different part of the Zohar, it says this way. It says, the Creator gives us first the medicine before the ailment shows up. Same idea. Always comes the solution before the problem. How can we say it? If those of you know a little bit of Kabbalah, if you learned at least Kabbalah 1, which came first, light or vessel? The light came first. Infinite light created the vessel. In today's terms, meaning this message today, what does that mean? The light, the source of fulfillment and the solution for everything, exists eternally. The vessel, if you will, the desire, the need, came afterwards. So when you and I are feeling that need, we need the light, we need the help, we need the support, it's there. Whether we can just pause in the moment and find the strength to do, or we draw on that added light that we've stored up in our light account to make use of it to deal with the situation. Either way, the medicine always comes before the ailment. Now, because we've used the metaphor of, you put the money in the savings and this, a lot of people in the physical world, they have a retirement account. How many people do you know who may have had a lot of money in their retirement account and didn't live long enough to enjoy it? Happens. So I want you to realize that on the spiritual level, there's no such thing as retirement. Ooh. That doesn't mean you can't enjoy your life, go golfing a little bit, or play tennis, or whatever you like to do, or go on vacation. That's not what I'm saying. But there's no retirement from the spiritual work. If consciousness is everything, and we all want, because it's already been implanted in our soul, if we all want the 100%, we want what God gave us, what we feel in our heart and soul is our Garden of Eden. When we want that, and we build the desire for that, then there's no end to the work we do of transformation. On the other side, before you let that opponent start putting negative thoughts in your head, that doesn't mean you don't enjoy your life. Just because a person is embracing challenges, looking for where their blockages are, doesn't mean they have to have stress or anxiety or feel bad about it. No. How many of you enjoy a sport or something like that, some hobby? Now, other people look at you. I know people, when I was living in California, they could sit in their garden all day. Gardening this, whatever they do, I don't even know, right? With a shovel over here and pruning this and singing and having a good time. Hours and hours. For me, it would drive me nuts. I couldn't do that, but they enjoyed it. For me, if you told me, Chaim, you got to be 3 hours in the garden and do this and another thing, yeah, probably waken a little bit of stress until I found a way to embrace it. You follow? But what I'm saying is, for them, they embrace it, they enjoy it. So what that opponent said, oh, you mean there's no retirement spiritually? Doesn't mean bad. You can go on vacation, but do it spiritually and still be adding light into your account and experiencing the light, the true light of fulfillment of that vacation. Or you can do like my teacher, the Rav Berg, always said. People go away for a 2-week vacation, and by the time they come back, they need a vacation from their vacation. So it wasn't rest, it wasn't restorative, it was creating more anxiety. So you understand, spiritual people who desire their Garden of Eden, who desire their 100%, there is no retirement. So yes, we want to keep putting light in there, and like we said, one way or another, whether we use it all or not, we will ultimately come to our 100%, because that's what God already implanted in us. What we're learning now is how to see the signs so we go through less chaos, less difficulty, less darkness, less challenges, less stress, fear, anxiety, guilt, shame, greed, ego, insecurity. Who needs that? We don't need it. We don't need it as we will. Connect, put some of that aside, and then when you're drawing that light, like we said, then in the times of darkness, you're not scared. Think back, some of us, we're really strong adults. We're not scared of the dark, right? I can go into a dark room and I can do this. Yeah, but look back when you were a kid. Did you never have some fear of the darkness? Yes. So as we grow up as an adult, what does our fear of darkness look like? Oh, we're not scared of a dark room, or we're not scared of a dark tunnel or things like that. But we're scared of the darkness of, what about my health? What about my business? What about my family? What about my existence? What about my house? What about my car? That's the darkness that many people are in fear of. And this is what we're learning now. Take the light from those times of connection. Shine it into the times of darkness. So the fear dissipates, and then we're able to peel those layers away. We're able to draw back the light, and now we've added more light to our account. I know somebody years ago, not too many years ago, they were sitting in LA, they were sitting on a little table, right, at a cafe on the street, on the sidewalk. enjoying the sunshine, right? There was one of their relatives was there, having this nice, whatever, cup of coffee, a little brunch, something. And all of a sudden, the person that she was with says, you know what? I see something over there. Let's go now to look in that window. Now, for most people say, well, we didn't finish the coffee, whatever the excuse is, right? And sit there. In their case, they had the good fortune to both get up, go a few feet away to the store window to look at what was in the window that caught their attention. And guess what happened? Some car coming down the street jumped the curb right over the table and the chairs. So they could have been with the angels up there somewhere, or who knows, in the hospital, whatever. But instead, they listened to that warning, as we've been talking about. They moved away and then went. Now, what did they do? And this is to put it in another form. So what they did, one, they immediately, because if you take out of that account, think even the physical. So you take $10,000 out of the $100,000 and you use it for whatever. What would you like to do to that account? Don't you want to refill it so it's there if you need it again? So that's the first thing they did. They came to the center, they gave charity, because they understood they were taking light from that account, that protective account, if you will. They wanted to restore it. And then in this case, there's something Kabbalistically called a meal of thanksgiving, meaning they sponsored, because just briefly, the Seudah, it's called, comes from the word sa'ad. It's a support system. So a true meal of consciousness. And they invited friends, etc. Another way of adding light, sharing their good fortune and their appreciation for the miracle with other people, and storing more light in the account. So if you think about it from that point of view, what comes the way of a human being that we cannot bring a blessing from? Times of connection, times we're inspired, draw the light, put it in that account. When the darkness comes, take from that account, use it to take the darkness away and extract the light out of the darkness. Because we know there's infinite light, so where it looks like darkness is really light, waiting to be revealed. So then it doesn't matter. That's the beauty. And for me, one of the most powerful things we learn in the center, how to handle everything. Light comes in, appreciate it more, draw more energy from it, store some of it away. When the darkness comes, pause. It's not real darkness, and it cannot be eternal, because the light will always overcome darkness. But we have to shine light, and therefore transformational sharing in that uncomfortable way, forgiving the nasty person, whatever it may be. We have to go outside our comfort zone, beyond what we did yesterday, to share that next level up. Then we've taken the light there. So the more we can live that way, what are we seeing all the time, and what are we experiencing all the time? Light of the Creator, a sense of peace and harmony, a sense of serenity. Yes, we still have to deal with the challenges that come up. We still have to deal with the physical situations. But if you're in peace and harmony, it's like the world's going like this, and you're just smoothly handling it. Yes, you're dealing with it, you're handling it, but you feel centered, you feel serene, you feel calm, you feel peaceful, because you feel connection to the light of the Creator. That's what we want to get. And in this month of Capricorn that we've just entered into, this is our opportunity, taking all the light that we revealed from Sagittarius and inject it into Capricorn. Because Capricorn, if you were listening to the new moon, is generally considered one of the negative months. But as we just said, there is no negative month really. It just means the curtain or that veil on Capricorn is stronger than most of the other months. Therefore, draw on the light of our soul. Make a little extra effort. Scan more Zohar, spread the Zohar, forgive those people, give extra charity. Put yourself outside who you were yesterday, and therefore you can draw more from the light that exists in the month of Capricorn. So as we're finishing, I just want to put it this way. Remember, we want, how strong? We're vessels. Vessel means desire. How much we want our personal Garden of Eden, and then eventually have the Garden of Eden for everyone, it's to that extent we will push ourselves to share, we will push ourselves to store that light, we will push ourselves to be more and more conscious daily. Because as we do that, if we're committing ourselves to putting away in that savings account, We're committing ourselves to look for the light in everything and in everyone. As we said, greater kindness, love, compassion to all human beings. The more we're going to look for that light, the more we're going to find our personal Garden of Eden. And when you and I are living more in our personal Garden of Eden, other people are going to see us. And they're going to see us through the challenges. And they're going to say, how are you handling that? How are you doing that? Then you have the opportunity to teach them, because now they're open. Now they have a desire. Now they have a capacity to hear that maybe before they didn't, because they didn't see that example. So like all of us, the more examples we see of people being calm in the midst of a storm, the more we want to be like that, the more we're drawn to it. And the more each and every one of us are committed to behave with greater love, kindness, and compassion, the more we're committed to see the light, then the more we build a stronger and stronger protective shield. And the more we stay connected to that light, that shield gets stronger and stronger and stronger and will not burst. God bless. So we have a few minutes. I just want to do a meditation to help us take this energy, and I'd like to meditate with all of you who are watching around the world and all of us here, we have this, one of the 72 names, and if you are new, then it's important to understand what you see here are 3 nanoparticles, light force particles, portals to the endless world. Most people will call them Aramaic letters, Hebrew letters, but they are not just letters. They are portals, if you will, a conduit, wiring from the upper world, the endless world of the endless heaven, down into this world. So they shine the light of the Creator. As you just look at them and just scan them, we call it, they are radiating light through your eyes. They are awakening more and more of that peace of God that's put inside of us. So in this case, from right to left, it's Yud, Zayin, Lamed, right, are the names, if you can see them, connecting us to heaven on earth. We want to draw for ourselves, strengthen our desire for our Garden of Eden, and then sharing that with the world. So just let your eyes look at them. Allow the shapes to be engraved inside your mind, awakening your soul. And then if I can ask you, sitting comfortably in your chair, feet flat on the floor, hands on your lap, just begin to take a few deep breaths. Breathing in through the nose, hold the breath for a moment, exhale through the mouth. Allow yourself to rest. Rest in the infinite light of the Creator. Feel as if you're floating on a cloud of this light. The only sensation you can feel is the power of the light coursing through every cell of your body, awakening every piece of light, every spark of light in your soul. Let's each of us create a vision of our heaven on earth. Just allow that feeling of total and complete bliss to come into your mind, come into your heart, your soul. Yud Zayin Lamed, heaven on earth. As we're awakening that sensation, that clarity of spiritual vision of heaven on earth and all that light, our light. Let's take some of that, store it in our spiritual light account. let's radiate the Creator's light, infinite bliss, source of all eternal lasting fulfillment. Let it radiate out from your heart to all your family and friends, reaching into their heart and soul, awakening to a higher level their peace of the light of God implanted in their soul, that they begin feeling their own peace of the Garden of Eden. And then let it shine out from them to the heart and soul of every human being, unconditionally. Let's see that light, that spark of the Creator that's in every human being, awakening, strengthening, becoming brighter. That as it radiates out from the soul, it reaches into their heart. That the veils and the curtains that may be blocking their hearts are opened up. The curtains broken, torn away. And that true heart of unconditional love, the true sensation of knowing the Creator loves each and every one of us, and awakening greater unconditional love for all the other people around. Just bask in this light and this feeling, this sensation of eternal bliss. Together we'll take one more deep breath to anchor it in, and slowly exhale and open your eyes. Let's give us a moment. And for those of you who are here and those of you who are watching, if this has inspired and touched your soul, we'll take our moment for the offering. Any support that you can be to help us speed up the spread of this wisdom in the Zohar not only helps other people, but most importantly, it keeps us connected to the light of the Creator. So if you're here, if you can hold your offering in your hand. For those of you online, just meditate with us, and then we'll put the link where you can make your contribution in appreciation and support for what we do here in the center and on Sundays. So as we just touch the heart and soul of every person, and we have that vision. One, let's give thanks and appreciation and gratitude for all that we have, all that we've learned, all the spiritual power that we have awakened and made use of in our life. And knowing the Creator is our source of all our good, of everything we are and everything we have. And more we are seeing our interconnectedness with every human being on earth, and therefore knowing the good we do for them returns to us many, many fold over. And so in gratitude, in appreciation, with love and joy, we infuse that energy into this gift, into this offering. They will go through the projects of the center to awaken and raise consciousness of all humanity and bring the light of the endless world, true heaven on earth, through the spread of the Zohar. That we speed up the process. That it does happen in our days. And we open our eyes and we say, Amen. So thank you all for joining us from around the world. Have a pleasant morning, afternoon, or evening, wherever you are. And also, just as a reminder, if you do have stories of transformation or some spiritual awakening, please send me through Facebook, email, right? I love to collect them and share them with others. Have a marvelous week. Have a great, light-filled week until we see each other again next week.